Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to the Macro Lounge podcast. I am, of course, your co-host Chris Bowl, joined by the stunning in winter wardrobe today, Queen of Sparkles, Rachel Mead. And today's episode, we thought we'd go through, are you a bad athlete? We've gone from don't be a dick. Now we're moving on to, are you a bad athlete? Or we could just call it, are you being a dick? Maybe we'll just go with that one.
It's just don't be a dick to your coach.
Cool. I'll just sit back and let you do all of the talking for today's thing. So.
Question. Do I count as a coachable athlete or an uncoachable athlete, or am I both?
Your Honor, on the grounds that it could incriminate me, I'm going to assert my rights under the Fifth Amendment on that one.
Hey, legitimate question.
Doesn't apply to New Zealand.
Hey, it's a legitimate. I'm curious. Am I a coachable athlete, or am I uncoachable, or am I somehow a little bit of both at the same time?
You are what I would call a seasonably coachable athlete. Does that work?
Yeah, I guess that's okay.
Yeah. See, it's. And we just have to time the seasons right, and hopefully we both coincide in the same season at the same time. Otherwise, yet another reason why I have no hair.
Hey, at least I don't disagree with you on things. I still agree. I just don't do them.
This is true. And at least we're both aware of this. So this is...
We are. Communication, very important for your coach. Open communication. So today we are talking about how to be coachable.
We're coming into that time of the year where obviously the seasons are starting to kick off. A little bit of delay in the New Zealand season. Some of you would have heard that the NZIFBB's Invictus Auckland show has been moved into combined with the Auckland show in September. So a little bit late on the start off there. But, in Australia, they've already started with both all the federations over there have started their seasons A's. But you're getting a lot of people now that are really getting into prep.
We are 3 weeks out from the ICN show.
Yeah.
There'll be 2 weeks. 2 weeks by the time this comes out.
It will be. We'll be 2 weeks out, and by the time this one comes out, we will be well and truly on our way to getting that one sorted. And that's like pretty much the first show of the first show of the year. No, actually, the first one will be the
South Island
NZIBB South Island Moe's Muscle, which is the first time they've done the show at this time of the year down there. So it'll be interesting to see what the numbers are like. Hopefully it goes well. I know the numbers are looking pretty solid for the Great Lakes Classic with ICN, so that's encouraging. But as I said, we're getting into that time really when prep's starting to kick off. And this is the time, personally, where I'm also starting to get a lot of inquiries for people wanting to compete this year. Not ideal. I don't tend to, as a coach, like to just do prep because, it's not really what I like. I mean, I'll do it for certain people if they meet certain criteria, but this is the sort of time when people really are sort of starting to lean more on their coaches. It's also the time when things start to get a little bit sideways, for lack of a better word. So we sort of wanted to go through like that, we've done episodes in the past. We talked about what makes a good or a bad coach and red flags that you need to look at there. But we thought this is probably a good time to start saying, well, what makes a good or a bad athlete?
Not listening to your coach.
Yeah, well, that can have something to do with it. But it's the thing about coaching, right, is it's not magic. It's guidance. Coaches are there to give you direction. They're not necessarily to give motivation on demand. They're not necessarily there to be your cheerleading squad. They require you as an athlete to execute on a plan. The results come from consistency. They don't. I mean, there are some bloody good coaches out there around New Zealand and Australia and around the world. But the reality is, as a coach, we rely on you as an athlete to be consistent. It's not how clever our plans are, or how creative our menu plans are, or how many different angles we've got you doing hip thrusts and kickbacks. It's about your consistency. And the best plans fail if they're not followed through on. And that is where coaching becomes critical, and where your part of the equation is really, really important, because coaching is a two-way relationship. You're responsible for the results too.
So something that frequently happens here, now I know that Chris has had this happen, and I know that I have done this before as well, is just not reading the plan properly. Sometimes you get your plan and you get really excited and you kind of skim through it a little bit. And
you're referring to a certain athlete who says, you hate supersets, Chris. And we both go,
that one was hilarious. So yes, we did have a certain team member, she knows who she is, say to us that Chris is strongly against supersets, and because he made us do a superset in a session, and she's like, wait, Chris, I thought you hated supersets. And me and Chris just looked at each other like, what? And we told her to go back and look at her plan, and lo and behold, it was full of supersets.
And it even said supersets, and very specific instructions. But apparently, turning the page to page 2 there needs to be an instruction at the bottom. Please turn over. Was the issue. Anyway, yes, please continue.
Or even just like reading numbers wrong, like on your food plan. Sometimes, like you might have 100 grams of something, or like 120 grams, and you just read it wrong, and in your brain, or like maybe you're like, oh, 170 grams, a 2 looks kind of like a 7, and you just don't read it properly, and then you're like, oh crap, because I know I've done this before.
Or predominantly if it's like raw versus cooked weight, it's like, the number of people I say, 200 grams of rice. That's so much rice. You're like, oh, really? I mean, it's not a small amount. And then they send you a picture of it and you go, hang on. Did you weigh that before you cooked it or after? And then you just like, yeah.
I mean, my secret is that I've just always done cook weight regardless. So it doesn't matter because then if you tell me that it's raw, I've always done it at that. So it increases and decreases the same anyway.
It's probably
if you always do it consistently wrong.
This is true. I did say consistency is the key. So therefore, that would be consistently wrong is disconsistent.
Exactly. So I'm still increasing and decreasing as needed. It's just if we think we need less, so we just go less. It's just my quantities have always been the same amount wrong.
But it's consistent.
Exactly. Unless consistency is key.
Unless Ed throws some oil in it, and then that's just a hole.
Yeah. That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
But so yes, read your plans properly. And another athlete who said they weren't allowed seasonings.
I had that come up just recently, and I literally looked at it.
So yes, read your plans properly. That is very important. I know that sometimes on the athlete side, we don't do it on purpose, obviously, but it is very important to go through and actually read your plan carefully, because if you think something is wrong, most likely it is.
I have learned over the years that the further in prep that people get, let's just say the more specifically friendly and simple language has to be used in order to get the point across. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, which is not really their fault. I mean, brain functionality does sort of compromise a bit. But so question for you, Rachel. What do you think people think coaching is before they start? I mean, what do you think the biggest misconception is that you've seen when people when they do take on it?
Is that Rusty in the background? Sorry, I got distracted.
No, she's asleep. That was probably the fridge.
Oh, okay. Anyway, coming back to the question. I think the main thing is people think that they will get given their meal plan, they'll get given their training, and that things will just kind of happen. You do still need to put in the work, and coaching isn't just, here's your plan, go do it, goodbye, see you later. It does need to be two-way street. It needs to be communication. If something on your plan isn't working, you need to communicate that. And we need to figure out why. So, I mean, sometimes it might not be working because you're not doing it right. That happens sometimes too. Sometimes it's not working because your body just doesn't work that way. Sometimes your body doesn't agree with certain foods, and that's okay. You just need to communicate with that with your coach, and you can work it out. So that is really important. I think there's a lot of people who feel bad asking for adjustments. Now, there is a line here. There is a line. You are allowed to ask for adjustments, but there is also a line of asking for everything that you want and just wishful thinking.
Yeah. What do you mean I can't have my ice cream with blah, 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 blah as a... Okay.
So you could potentially negotiate for like 2 pieces of chocolate, potentially, if you sacrifice something else. But you will not be able to negotiate for chocolate as well as, I don't know, ice cream and, I don't know, chips, pasta. Whatever you want, pasta, yeah. There's only so many negotiations that can go on, especially when you're deep in prep. So, yes, you can negotiate to a point, but also... Their calories still are math.
Yeah. Just because you don't track them doesn't mean they don't count. So I think it should be like, you should be given so many like, almost like get out of jail free cards when you start prep.
Oh, I like that.
So you have to decide when you're going to cash them in. Like, how badly have you screwed up that you think, do I save this to when I really need it? I think that would be a good idea.
The only issue is a lot of athletes don't know when they really need it, and they think they really need it now.
Yeah, that'd be like the first week when they normally text you, say, are you trying to kill me? I'm so weak, and I'm so this. You're like, it's day 3.
To be fair, the first, 2 weeks are the worst. Especially, the first day, and it was actually really funny. A specific athlete messaged me recently and was like, oh my God, my prep has suddenly started. It's so sudden. And I'm like, wait, I know that you've been about to start prep for, a couple of weeks now. I've known this for weeks. How have you not known this? Well, I did, but I didn't expect it to be so sudden. I was like, huh?
It's like, I believe I know exactly who you're referring to. And it's like, didn't your calories drop for 2 weeks down to a maintenance zone? And now we're going into prep. So it's not like we just suddenly went, let's just take all your fun away.
Sorry, we do love you, the said athlete. We do love you.
You know she's going to be watching this, and she's going to be like, "You're talking about me."
That's why I said we love you.
And the answer to that question, if you're asking yourself, they're talking about me, the answer is yes, we are.
So, you are allowed to negotiate, but again, you only have so many get out of jail frees. You can only use so many at a time. Try not to use them all at once at the start of your prep, because the first 2 weeks are always going to suck.
Yeah,
but yes,
don't use them all the first 2 weeks.
Communicate with your coach. Okay, if something isn't working, you need to find out why. And I think that's a really big thing, because even like sending workout videos, people feel bad, but it's like, as long as you're not expecting responses at like 3 a.m. or something ridiculous, or what Chris is looking at me like that's happened before. If you just send a workout video and like, yep, okay, I will get a response in a timely manner, and you're not sending every single set every single day, I think that would probably be a little bit too much. But if you're like, okay, in this particular workout, this exercise felt a little bit funky. Hey, Chris, can you help me figure out what went wrong?
Yeah.
Do it, please. Yeah. That is good. That is the service that you are paying for.
Exactly. And that, you know, as I said, it's not magic, right? There is, particularly when obviously prep is a lot different, right? Obviously in prep, we're not making structural changes. We're not fixing anything. I mean, the reality of it is the only thing you can fix between, in prep or in between shows is conditioning. We can't make the very, very few people who are in a prep deficit can actually gain muscle. In my entire career, I've seen one. And that was proven by DEXA scan. And I still went, no, they screwed that up. There's no way in hell you gain 6 pounds of muscle in 7 weeks when you're in that level of deficit. I don't know. We can't. So the exercises is more, obviously, we're focusing on preserving lean muscle mass. We're focusing on making sure we're actively metabolizing fat into fuel. So, exercise routines are not magic. You're not suddenly going to have glutes of doom version 2.0. Hashtag Rachel. You're focusing on showing what you built in the off season. So, the reality of it is the training part becomes pretty much nothing but consistent time spending. And, don't expect that, I want to have bigger shoulder caps. It's like, okay, well, that's something to put on let's put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that in the growth season. Yeah, it's consistency.
And I think the other big thing is that people will often, I guess, get in their heads a little bit too much, especially when they're in prep, because the deeper you get in prep, the more you get a little bit emotional. And sometimes you start overthinking things. So at that point, it is good to just kind of sit back and say, hey, coach, here you go. You worry about this for me, so I don't have to. I'm just going to eat the food, do the training, and that's it.
Yep. That's when, and even as a coach, you go, thank you. Yes, we can let's just, everybody know their lane, and we'll just get it done. I mean, but yeah, that's the thing. As an athlete, you're paying a coach to do that. As a coach, we are taking on athletes with the expectation that the plans are being followed, and that the communication is there. Because generally, like, I don't view myself as an online coach. I view myself more as like a remote coach. I think to me, online coaching is more, say, lifestyle stuff, where you've got templated plans, you've got all this sort of carry on where, you pay your $19.99 a week and you get your standard plan. But as a remote coach, it's, we're not there with you 24/7. So we are trusting on the communication and the consistency from you to execute the plan. Now, the thing is, there are some signs you might be a bad athlete. So, that's okay, because we can all learn to be better athletes. It's like we can learn to be better coaches. But, there are some, you might be a bad athlete if you can't follow the plan consistently. That's a good sign. If you can't follow a plan consistently in growth season, your chances of following a plan consistently in prep season are considerably reduced, unless you're somebody like, who shall remain nameless but has got lots of sparkles on, who's very good at following a plan in prep season, not so good in the off season.
Hey, at least I'm smart in the off season. I don't follow the plan, but I also don't go stupid.
No,
we'll put it down to experience. I know more or less what I should be eating, and I just kind of eyeball it from there.
It tends to work, so we're okay with that.
It's experience. As a newer athlete, I did not do that. But no, if you cannot follow a plan in the off season, even more or less, I'd say 80%, you probably are not ready to prep, because if you can't follow 80% in the off season, you are going to struggle when you're hungry.
And the thing is, if you can't follow a plan, don't blame your coach. That's your responsibility. The coach can't do that for you. The coach can't motivate you for that. They can support you, and there's that accountability side. If you're just making crap up for the sake of it, without telling your coach what you're doing. And sometimes it's fine to just change exercises, change days, do all that sort of stuff, and you can move stuff around. That's fine. Again, it comes down to the communication. But you can't only communicate when things are going well. That's a sign that that's on you, not on the coach. The reality is it's not the coach's job to chase you if you have not done a check-in, if you have not done something. They'll probably do that a few times initially. You'll get the messages, hey, you're supposed to check in yesterday, what's going on, anything I can help you with. But it'll get to the point when they will literally say, hey, look, you're a big girl, so you know what the expectations are. I'm not going to chase you for not doing your homework.
Yeah, if a coach is like having a go at you, like a massive like telling off, like I feel like that's a bit of a red flag on the coach rather than on the athlete necessarily. Like the athlete, yes, you should be doing it, but the majority of coaches aren't going to go yell at you and have this big go at you for doing something wrong. They're going to say, okay, cool, let's move on. So I think that's a lot of athletes are scared to say when something goes wrong because they feel like they've disappointed the coach, that the coach is going to be angry and blah, blah, blah. Angry, disappointed, sad. I mean, Chris might be internally a little bit like, they could have done better. But he's also not going to say that. He's just going to be like, okay, we could have done better, but now we're going to do better. Moving on. Yeah.
It's like, as the All Black coach Steve Hansen once said, flush that toilet and just move on because we can't change that now. But yeah, I think a lot of it is maybe being, the athlete being less, they should be less concerned about the coach being disappointed in them than I think sometimes it's the athlete becomes disappointed in themselves. Like they have very high levels of expectations for what they're doing. And I think it's really, really important for you as an athlete, if you think that you're struggling or you're disappointed in yourself, remember, this is a two-way relationship, right? Is to talk that through with your coach as to why you're struggling. It could be anything from, something that's going on at home. It could be, medically related where we need to look at that. But it is really, really important that, you don't just rely on every coach can be the best coach in the world when everything's going like clockwork, everything's working. And that's not the time to suddenly lean on your coach. That's a reflection on you as the athlete. It's also not the time when things sort of go sideways to go silent. As a coach, if I'm used to hearing from you every day, or in some of the athletes multiple times a day, and you go 1 or 2 days without messaging me, I'm going to go, what's going on? Because, it's, again, but that's not the responsibility of the coach. That's the responsibility of the athlete. And you, as an athlete, you need to own when shit goes sideways. And it's okay, because it will. I'm not going to be disappointed when something goes wrong. I'm going to be disappointed for you. I'm not going to be disappointed in you. And I think that's a key thing to realize is that if you are worried about that, then have that conversation with the coach. I don't want to let you down. You can't let me down. You can never let me down. As long as you're happy with what you're doing, I'm happy.
It's like if you fall over, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you.
Yeah.
No, but I do think it's also, like, I actually just realized, it's also, with that communicating when things go wrong, sometimes we don't want to say it because it makes it real. So especially if it's been multiple things within a week, let's say, and you're starting to have to list all those things and you're like, that's a lot. That's not just one thing, that's actually like 5 things. And then you're like, that's a lot. Like, now it's real. I completely fucked up the week. Mm-hmm. Rather than, oh yeah, so it was just this little thing, Chris, it's all good. So that sometimes can be a little bit scary as well, but we're all human, okay? Most people are not expected to be perfect. No. Actually, no one is. There's a couple of people that we kind of know are a little bit perfect, but also we're waiting for them to not be perfect.
Yeah, we'll find something. Yeah, we'll find something. But it's like when we say a bad athlete, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. And the thing is, being a bad athlete doesn't mean you lack potential. It just means you're lacking consistency. And again,
that's actually the worst ones, though. And like, if you're on the coaching side, it's like the people who have so much potential and then they're not doing stuff, and you're like. But usually, that's the ones that they know that they're not doing it, but they don't care because they have so much potential that like they're like, it's fine anyway. Yeah,
I'm that good. It's just gonna roll off. Yeah, I mean, there are people out there like that, but again,
there are people like that.
It comes back to that consistency, right?
But yes, no, it's just communicating with your coach is very, very important. And like doing something wrong doesn't necessarily mean you are a bad athlete. No, communicating it is a good sign. You can make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Even Olympic athletes are not perfect. It's just that bodybuilding, I think, highlights. If you had instead of having your black coffee, you had a flat white. Those little things, like they do all add up in bodybuilding, and I think because it gives you so many 0.25%, it seems like a lot more than it is, rather than it's really not that much. It's like 20 calories if you put coconut milk in or something. So it can in your brain seem a lot bigger than it is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I've the coffees as a classic example. I've had people who like, oh, I've just had 2 coffees a day. I'm like, okay, yeah, coffees is fine. They always get, oh, you're not going to tell me I can't have my coffee, and I'm like going, I'm not a complete sadist. No,
we had that backstage, didn't we?
Yeah, everybody's like, she's allowed coffee. I'm like, why not?
I was like,
explain to me.
That's not an option. Not having coffee would not be an option with Chris. He knows.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing with that fight. But it's like when they say, okay, what was the coffee? Oh, I had an oat milk flat white, at which point I just go, and it's like, do you know how many calories are in that and how much milk that they use? Like 150 ml of oat milk in a standard flat white is about 220 calories and about 25 grams of carbs.
That's why we get almond milk.
Yeah, at which point you go, that is probably an issue.
Yes, if you're doing that twice a day, that's definitely an issue. But again, almond milk is better because at least it's only like 20 calories.
Exactly.
If you get the unsweetened stuff, at least. Hey, some people are still adjusting to having black coffee, okay? They're still adjusting. Yeah, they're not quite true coffee drinkers yet. And that is the sign of being a true bodybuilder, is when you start having black coffee in the off-season. Yeah, when
it's the off-season, it's like when it's just normal. You're like, who do I say? Oh, somebody today, they were getting a coffee in front of me, was actually one of the athletes, one of the teammates. And then the barista started putting honey in the bottom, and I just looked at her and went, what the she didn't know what was behind her. That look of guilt on her face was priceless. I was like,
It's healthy. It's honey.
Yeah. It's not processed. I'm like,
it's antibiotic, okay? It's antibiotic.
Got lots of good things about it.
But no, I think the big thing is when people do those things and then they still expect for it to all work. So when you're constantly not following the plan, but then you blame the coach because the plan didn't work, but you didn't follow the plan.
As I said, coaches aren't miracle workers. I mean, you kind of, as an athlete, you kind of got to break that fantasy mindset. There's coaches out there, they've got Olympiad athletes and they've got all these sort of things. I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that athlete is an Olympian is on the athlete. Coaches don't control your daily choices. You do. As an athlete, you control your food choices. You control your training effort, your sleep. You control your compliance. As a coach, I can't, and I'm speaking for coaches industry-wide, we can't fix what we don't know. So this is where the communication and the honest feedback and actually check-ins matter. Coaching really works. The magic really happens when athletes are transparent. And that transparency comes down to when you screw up, not just when you did it great. I had great workout. I checked everything and I got everything done. I ate all my meals. I absolutely crushed it in the gym. Great. What about the radio silence when you didn't?
I think on the athlete side, it's about being realistic. So it's like, I'll use myself here because I am often an example of a bad athlete, but I also don't expect for things to go well.
Depends on the season.
But if I'm skipping my workouts and I'm also not following the food plan as much, I don't expect the results because I know I didn't do the work. Yeah. So I'll tell Chris that I didn't do the work and I'm like, yeah, that's on me. So it's a little bit of reality, but if you do the work and you are following the plan, that's when you're like, okay, results should be happening. Yep. That's when you can expect the results. It's like a 1 + 1 = 2. It's like if you don't have your 1, there's nothing there. There's no addition. It's just 0. We don't have results. So I think that's the biggest thing as the athlete is if you're not following the plan, you cannot expect the results at the same time. Yep. So you cannot follow the plan. That's fine. I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but it happens. But then at the same time, don't expect the results for the stuff you didn't do.
Yeah.
It's like expecting to be paid and not showing up to work.
Exactly. Well, that describes a lot of people. But the thing is, as you said, if you skip the workouts, if you're guessing portion sizes, if you're ignoring instructions, as an athlete, you cannot hold anybody responsible for that other than yourself, because that's not a coach's job. And your coach doesn't have the ability. They don't live, well, in most cases, they don't live with you 24/7. And, they're there to help you. But as Rach said, you can't expect elite results if you don't put an elite level of effort. So it's okay not to, but then everything gets recalculated based on what the expectation of input is going to be. And that's a real key thing when it comes down to being transparent with your coach. As an athlete, it is your responsibility to be transparent. So the coach can actually adjust things up or down as they need to in order to achieve an expected result. But again,
we can do that with my example of I am consistently inconsistent. So Chris was able to consistently and consistently plan my everything last season, and we hit every single target, even though I was being consistently inconsistent.
But we do this, so we plan.
Yeah. So he knows exactly how much I don't follow the plan. So it got planned
until she has to, and then she does.
And yeah, that's usually around 4 weeks out.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so now we're going to pull this together.
Do what I say, not what I do.
Yep. No, which is probably why Rachel actually doesn't coach athletes, because I think you get one that would literally just be like you, and I'll just sit there and go, hey, Max, a bitch. It's like grandparents, when they look at you when you've got kids, and they look at you and go, yeah, you were just the same. You're like, Jim.
It's okay, because me not coaching means I can just encourage all the other Team Bold girls to be the same.
I knew this was your fault. Back to the athlete we were talking about earlier.
Yes, I think she is aspiring to be like me. I think so.
You think? I'm doomed. I'm doomed, I tell you.
Hey, at least I'm not competing this season, so you've only got one. You could have had two.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's good. We'll take that one then. The other thing is about, like, as an athlete, you also have to really, really appreciate that results are not guaranteed. You know, you're not entitled to anything at all as a result. Their results are earned. You don't buy them. They're not purchased. You know, just because you're paying for something doesn't mean you get them. Paying for coaching does not guarantee an outcome. If it does, that's called bribery. And most criminal codes, that's illegal.
It's very frowned upon.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you're paying for a service and you're paying for something. You're paying. You want an outcome and you want a result. Coaching will improve those odds, but it's not a certainty. There's no guarantee that, just being coached by Chris Aceto or somebody like that, Amy Rainbow or some of these really big coaches. There's no guarantee that you get coached by that person, you're going to be the future Ms. or Mr. Olympia. That still comes down to you. You still got to. They'll improve your odds. But at the end of the day, you still got to put in the work.
It's almost like I'm just thinking it is kind of like school or like university. You can have the best teacher in the world, but if you don't do any of the work set, because they've given you all the work, they've given you all the resources, right? It's all there. Yeah. But if you're in the class and you're not doing anything, you're not learning, nothing's going to happen. Your test results are going to be bad. Yep. It's the same thing. Honestly, overall, actually think of your coach almost like a teacher, because it's the same thing. You don't want to be emailing them at 3 a.m. It's not good.
We don't give extensions.
You can ask questions, but also they do have other shit to do.
Yeah. And the thing is about competitive bodybuilding, it's relatively simple. Time matters. Effort matters. Adherence matters. It's not rocket science. And as an athlete, those are the three pillars that you're kind of expected to uphold. And sometimes you won't, Shit happens, things go wrong and they're uncontrollable. But the key thing is that's what your coach is there for, is to help you get back on track, to support you in however way they can. But it's not rocket science. It's not difficult, but it is. And that's the thing about competitions, right? It's like we know when it is, so we know what's required by a certain time. And that's why we engineer things backwards. So the time is an important factor. You can only lose body fat at a certain rate. Healthily, the effort that you put into it, there's a lot of difference between, one of the girls I just trained with the other day, and she kind of got a bit of a shock about what the level of intensity was that was required versus what she thought was working hard. And I'm like going, we're just warming up. So effort is really important, and the adherence. So those three things: time, effort, and adherence. Set by the coach, but again, as an athlete, it's your responsibility to put it in place.
A lot of the confusion can come from because the coach, I think, is a lot more important in bodybuilding than in most sports, because if your calories are too high, for example, obviously you're not going to get lean enough. So the plan that the coach gives you, I think, is a lot more important, and it does reflect a lot more than in most other sports. Like in most other sports, you can kind of outwork a not great training plan, but the level of conditioning and muscle and everything that's required in bodybuilding is a lot more precise. So obviously the coach is very, very important in that. And I think that's where a lot of the responsibility almost gets shifted in the athlete mentality. They think that, okay, well, whatever, having the best coach, that's obviously going to make me the best athlete because their plan is the best and that's the only thing that matters. And I think that's where a lot of that comes from. But as Chris says, it's not hugely rocket science. Like, it is still kind of math at the end of the day. So majority of coaches should be able to get you in condition. Sure, there's levels. There is levels of coaches. Some are better than others, but majority of coaches should be able to at least get you 90% in condition. So at that point, when everyone's kind of got similar food plans, again, I've had many coaches and most of the food plans look pretty similar. It's chicken, rice, mince, and oats and protein. That's about it.
And why is that?
Because it works. And that's among 5 different coaches. So generally it's going to be pretty similar. So again, it just comes back down to like the athlete does still need to do the work. The coach, yes, they do. They are very, very important in getting you there. But again, it's not solely their responsibility to get you there. They can give you the plan, but you still need to follow it. Yeah. And you need to follow it well.
Whole hard truth about it really is, look, there's no refund policy on effort. You have to put the effort in. If you don't put the effort in, don't expect the result. It just comes down to that. And this is also one of the weird sports, like as Rach just mentioned earlier. In a lot of other sports, just natural raw talent is enough. You can be the biggest, fastest, strongest person around and be a complete and utter slack ass and still be the best in the world. Bodybuilding is not that forgiving because it doesn't happen. Even the best athletes can not achieve the results that they're actually capable of, because this is one of those few sports where it does come down to time, effort, and adherence. You can be the most talented athlete in the world, but if you don't put in the time, don't put in the effort, don't put in the adherence, you're just going to be good. You're not going to be great. Yeah.
And honestly, it does come down, I think, a lot to that conditioning aspect of it. Because if you are slightly too soft, even if you have all the muscle in the world, and some people are genetically blessed who have a lot of muscle, even if you have all that muscle and you are not lean, you will not place that well. Okay, you might place okay because you've got the muscle, but if you are not in condition, they're not going to give you that top placing, even if you actually would have had the best physique. So it does come down to getting that leanness. But again, I would say it is very 50-50. It's not like some other sports where, you can just go off raw natural talent and it doesn't really matter what you're told to do because you're just gifted. You have to actually change an aspect of your body. You can't do that just through natural talent.
And there's no amount of magic sauce that any coach can come up to in peak week that's suddenly going to turn you into a world championship. If you're not ready, you're not going to be ready. That's just the way it is. And you're not going to be ready because you didn't put in the time, you didn't put in the effort, you didn't have the adherence. It's really, really quite simple. But there's also, we've talked about bad athletes. Most athletes are really, really good. Again, it's not about they have the opposite behavior of bad athletes. Probably a little bit more like sometimes people talk about that 5% extra, that 5% extra magic where, good athletes, they follow instructions closely. They ask questions early. I really encourage people, when anybody starts with me, generally, we do regular, in-depth check-ins on a monthly basis. But when they first start, I make them do it every week because that's when shit's going to go sideways, because it's almost like you're having to learn a new language. You're having to learn how to walk. So ask those questions early so that you can get them out of the way, that you can say, I'm not sure what you were smoking before you wrote this, coach, but, just so I can understand. Supersets are good. We're going to get in so much trouble for this one. She's going to be like, wait till I see those two. Good athletes also, they communicate honestly. That's a really, I value that highly. Probably the most highly out of everything is I don't expect perfection, but I do expect honesty. It's if shit happens, it happens. Just tell me. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. It's not like school when you teach you the dog ate my homework. It's like, I'll eat your chicken and rice and broccoli.
I could say Ed did.
Yeah, well, Ed has a lot to answer for.
He does. And he often does eat my food, actually, to be honest. It has happened before. But no, I think honestly the most important part actually about being a good athlete is just being open-minded. If you are closed-minded and you have a set idea in your head that this is how things should be, you will find it very hard to be coachable. It's very difficult for a coach to get around some of those. Sometimes you do need to try different things, and that's okay. It's okay to try, and it's okay for things to not work. That is fine, as long as you don't do it on stage, ideally. But sometimes a coach does need to try different things to see how your body reacts. Sometimes it might be different for what you expected. But being open-minded, yes, you can ask questions about it. Please do ask questions about it. If you aren't sure, ask questions. But don't be like, hey, why are we doing this? This is a weird exercise. I don't like this. Take it out. That is not being coachable. That is making your coach's life hard.
Gym doesn't have that piece of equipment, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, fair enough. Get rid of that one. But being a good athlete, they stay consistent even when motivation drops. It's really hard, and we've talked about before about motivation versus consistency, but it's really hard to be motivated all the time. Good athletes show up when it's hard. And sometimes They don't want to show up. They are defeated. They are beaten. They just want to throw in the towel. Me as a coach, it's my job to try and get you back on track. And sometimes we can do it successfully. Sometimes I have to be that motivation for you. Sometimes, a coach has to be the one that says, look, I believe in you. Look, I'll never tell anybody I believe in them if I don't. If I look at them and go, like, you haven't got a snowball's chance in hell, I'm not going to blow smoke because you set up a false set of expectations. But if I've got the belief that you can do it, damn straight I'm going to fight for you to get to the stage because that's my job. But good athletes show up when it's hard. And probably the real key reality of a good athlete is that consistency will always beat intensity, because intensity, you can be like, you see those people, they have that one training session a week where that's usually the one that they posted on Instagram or TikTok where it's like they crushed it 300 kilo hip thrust for 25 with 4-second holds. You're like, damn. And the other 4 sessions a week, they've just got through the motions. It's consistency, always going to beat intensity every time.
Yes, you need to put in the work. You need to communicate. Like, I think those are the most important things. Just following the plan, read the plan properly, very important. And yes, communicate. Like, don't be afraid to do things wrong or to experiment. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you aren't sure why you're doing something and you don't feel it working, then yes, you need to ask about it, because otherwise you won't learn. It is a process of learning bodybuilding, and I think it's the athlete's responsibility to embrace that. If you just some athletes, they do like to just, here's the plan, go follow. But I think it's better to learn why you're doing it, and I think that helps you push harder because you know why you're doing it. You know that there's a purpose. You know what that purpose is, so you know what's going to happen if you don't do it.
I think that's a key thing. Like, Rach, what behaviors do you think separates like an average athlete from a great one?
Ooh. I mean, like you say, that the showing up when it gets hard and not making excuses. I think it gets very easy to make excuses. If something happens, like, it can be very easy to be like, oh, well, I guess I'll just not do that today. That's fine. Trying a way to make it happen, I think that's probably one of the main defining factors, is finding a way. Because usually there is one. I mean, sometimes people need to try a little bit less hard to find a way, because some people do go a little bit over the top. We know there's 1 or 2 of those around. They are rare, though. They are rare. But majority of the time, it's a lot easier, and the human nature wants to find the easiest path. So we say, oh, okay, I don't know, there was this meeting came up at work. Oh, I guess I can't go to the gym. Or I have this trip today that didn't get planned for. Oh, I guess I have to just eat whatever food is there. It's that finding a way to make things happen. Time management, I think, is also really important. Not great for some of us, but having a set routine and plan, I think, is actually... Routine is going to always define any athlete across any sport. Having that routine. Morning, I go to training, or I eat this food. Afternoon, I go to training, I eat this food. Middle of the day, I go to work. And then I go to sleep by 10.
Well, especially bodybuilding, because it is so structured, about how meals are timed, recovery time frame, all that sort of carry on. Yeah, no, you're right. Those are all great things for, what makes a great athlete. And I think another thing about coaching is it's a shared responsibility. Coaching is a collaboration between the coach and the athlete. And you, as an athlete, you have to remember that. So, your coach is actually there to collaborate with you, because ultimately that's the relationship. It's a two-way relationship. They're trying to help you get to where you want to go. They're not there to beat you down because you didn't achieve something. There are some coaching styles that like that. We were talking just earlier, Rach and I, about one of the posing athletes that we work with through APA, and she comes from a different background with a different style of coaching in the background that she was part of, which would not fly with most people, and that is the draconian, almost East German, East European, back in the Cold War days, where it's like, you must do it this way, and if you don't do it, you shall die. It's a really bad German accent, but it'll do for today.
I'll say that Asian take off the slipper.
Yeah. Or the islander take off the jandalo.
Pretty much. Same concept. Across many different cultures.
There's always something being thrown.
Yeah, and usually it was something that came off a foot.
Yep. I think it's prerequisite. Or I distinctly remember having a teacher at school that used to be a real good shot with the duster. Those were the days we had chalkboards.
I wish that was still around. Even a whiteboard, we're not allowed to throw them at students. Sucks.
Those were the days.
Would have been fun. Would have been so fun as a teacher if you had a student that was being annoying.
Just have one usually. You remember the long meter rules? You just walk past it. Thank you.
Can't relate. You're showing your age.
I know.
But at the end of the day, coaches don't do that. They're also online. They can't reach you anyway physically. And they should not be mentally abusing you, in theory. That's not a good coach. Communication, please. If you do something wrong, that's okay. Just admit it, and then we can plan and go forward. Okay, that's honestly the biggest thing I think is that denial and just saying, oh, if I don't say anything, it didn't happen. Did happen, and that's okay, just move forward. Otherwise, we can't plan. Like if you, I don't know, skipped your cardio or you, I don't know, like maybe you slept in, you didn't do your hour of cardio. Hey, Chris, I didn't do my hour of cardio. What do I do next? That's it. That's all you need to do.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, bit late to worry about it now, but let's move on. And it's like feedback in this environment is not criticism necessarily. It shouldn't be. Feedback is it's direction. That's why you do check-ins so that it's there. You can get that data to provide feedback to change from. But it's really important that you understand that it's not criticism, and generally it's done within a respectful manner, and like as much. Like for me, respect is a big thing. It's like, I have red flags and I have things that I will bite back on, but generally respect is one of those ones. And it's like, if I will try and be as respectful as possible. And that's what coaching should be expecting in return as well. But yeah, don't take any feedback that you're getting from your check-ins or from your lack of check-ins. Say, hey, look, I can't help you if you don't help me. The feedback is a direction to help you get to where you want to go.
If you can't take feedback, you are not going to be very coachable, to be honest. And this probably isn't the right sport for you. You're literally getting on a stage to get judged.
Yeah. And that's the weird thing. Athletes really struggle with feedback. I mean, I remember distinctly an athlete at the Arnold Classic where we had just judged and I had just been finished judging, and she came up and she was asking questions. I said, can I give you some feedback on this? She said, no, I know what I need to do. Okay, all right.
Not like I was the judge or anything.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm telling you, you're wrong. So I remember telling a pro male bodybuilder something that he was doing on stage, and he literally, and I was the head judge, and he literally said to me, I disagree with you.
So yes, that comes back to our being open-minded. If your coach or the judges are telling you something, you do need to be able to listen. It's not personal, okay? Let's say, usually this is the big one, if you get told you were slightly too soft. No, they are not saying you were fat. They are just saying, you need a little bit less body fat. Like, just think, less adipose tissue. It's scientific. It's not personal. It's not saying you're a bad person. It's not saying you're a bad athlete if you need to be tighter. It's literally just, okay, next time, we be a little bit tighter. That's fine. Okay, feedback is not personal. It's just, this is the sport. It's like let's say swimming. Okay, so next time you need to go a little bit further underwater. That's also feedback. It's the same thing. It's just, I think people take it personally because it's your body.
I think this is one of those weird sports too, where they're wanting validation instead of, say, improvement. So they want to be validated for what they've done, or as opposed to the results are in the images, shall we say. It's like, that is your validation. If the image has changed of your physique, that is your validation. You should not be looking for validation of what you're doing or what you've done from your coach. It's the validation is in the end result. Don't look for improvement, not the validation.
Yes. You can validate compared to your previous showing or compared to where you came from. That's about it. Not your placing, not anyone else on stage, only you against you, because otherwise, things get very messy.
Yeah. I mean, the hard truth about it is if you only want praise, not feedback, you don't want coaching.
Chris has had a few people like this by the sounds of it.
And look, that's okay. I mean, if that's what you want, then, I frequently tell people, it's like, look, that's not what you're going to get. You're going to get feedback. And I'll praise you for you receive praise for doing, things well. But again, this is a sport about feedback. It's about criticism. And unfortunately, you do need to have kind of thick skin because it's a real personal thing. Somebody is giving you feedback on your body, on something that's very, very personal. And some people just don't take it well.
Yeah, especially with females, because often females can come from a background of having things like eating disorders or even just body image issues. It does bring up feelings that often, like potentially maybe as a teenager, I don't know, but like it gets very personal very quickly. So you do have to be able to kind of detach yourself and kind of think like, this is a painting. Someone is giving me feedback on my painting. Not everyone has to like it. That's fine. As long as I like it. Doesn't matter. So, summary for today. Be open-minded. Allow new ideas. Allow feedback. Listen to your coach if needed. Always listen to your coach. I said that's always needed. So be open-minded. Follow the plan. If you don't follow the plan, communicate. Is number 3. Communicate. So open communication, open-minded, and follow the plan. Those are your 3 pillars of being a good athlete. If you don't do any of those, you are probably not being a good athlete.
Yep. I would say effort matters more, communication, adherence, and ultimately remember the responsibility sits with the athlete. Your results are not built in the check-in. They're built in the choices that you make when your coach isn't watching.
And that's about it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick. You don't have to be perfect. Just be consistent. But primarily don't be a dick, because, that's annoying.
I think that's our new catchphrase.
Yeah, that is. It does. I think so. Anyway, I think the thing about, there are so many great athletes in this sport, and there are so many great people in this sport. But the key thing is, you have to remember, is it is a sport. It is a subjective sport. It is also something where, particularly when you've got a coaching, that it's a partnership, and that the pillars that we talked about, that are really, really important. The thing is, you've got to be, your consistency will be the one that gets you the results. There's no magic source. There's no magic plan. There's no magic methodology. It is just consistency, time, and adherence. So to be a good athlete, those are the three things, there's a couple of things that you really need to focus on. And your coach's job is to help you be the best athlete that you can be. It's not necessarily to be the best athlete in the world, because there can only be one best athlete. But it's, to do those things, to have those things. So, and as I said, there are really, really good athletes right across the board. And so some of the best athletes, honestly, are the ones that have had the biggest struggles. And those are the ones that, as a person and as a coach, that I admire the most. It's the ones that have been knocked down and they get back up. That is a sign of that person is putting in the effort. That person is, they're trying to be consistent, because you can't be consistent all the time, and you will fall, and that's okay. Success is not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up, as my grandfather used to say. Oh, she's changed it. It doesn't say for the love of God. So anyway, we've probably waffled on enough about being a good or a bad athlete, or don't be a dick. As always, if you have enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe on Spotify or YouTube. It really actually does help people find and follow us, which we are getting lots of new followers coming from around the world. It's always quite fun when you see them pop up from somewhere. And we, of course, will have new episodes out every Monday morning at the crack of dawn for those fasted cardio people. We've got some good things coming up, Rach. By the time this one comes out, we will be getting ready for, we're almost going to the first show, but we'll have done the workshop, which we'll be doing this weekend, which will be exciting in Auckland. And we've got some exciting guest appearances coming up, a few books. So some of them will be surprises for people that they probably didn't expect to see. So that'll be interesting to see how those go down. But yeah, enjoy your training, enjoy going into prep. And remember, not everybody can be a good athlete, and not everybody's going to be a bad athlete. Just be the best athlete you can be. I
like that. I think that pretty much tees it off. So, enjoy your cardio, everybody. Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you all next week. Did I just say y'all?